Well, howdy, how are you all? I thought for quite a while on about which channel to put this up on, Integrative Preparedness or American Reversion, and I've decided to put it up on both because it really applies to both. We have a lot of people belong to both channels, but there are many who just belong to one or the other. This affects both, so I'm going to put it up on both. So welcome to Integrative Preparedness and welcome to American Reversion. Can they take our guns? I'm going to tell you how they can. You know, I've heard a lot of people talk for years about they can never take our guns and the old cold dead hands and all of that. And I don't think that most of the people who have made those statements have really thought about it. So I want to get you thinking about it, and I'm going to tell you how they're going to do it. We had a comment on the one I did yesterday. Now I'm shooting this in the evening, and if you hear noises behind you, it's because I'm in my upstairs office, and the family is doing life, and they're making cookies and Rice Krispie treats in the kitchen. So if you hear noises, that's life. But we're talking about life, and we're talking about a real life, and so enjoy it if you hear the noises of life. So I had a comment. In yesterday's, somebody said, next they're going to come for our guns. And somebody kind of got on him about this and said, stop spreading misinformation or something to the effect. And I had to answer that. And if it was you, don't be upset. I'm not, I just had to answer it. I don't like calling people out on my channels. That's not what this is about. And it was opinion. Somebody had expressed an opinion. Okay. They hadn't called anybody stupid or anything. They expressed an opinion, which is valid. We all have a right to our opinions about next they're going to come for our guns. Well, yeah. How long have we heard about this? Many people have expressed that opinions. And there have been many moves in many states to restrict access to firearms. Okay, that's nothing new. We know that there is a widespread push for this, and there are many people that want to take them all. And there are many people that think it can't ever happen because they will refer back to the Japanese admiral who said nobody would ever invade America. There would be a gun behind every blade of grass. I've forgotten that admiral's name. It doesn't matter. His name doesn't matter. The statement is what matters. Here is what you have to realize. The way they would do it, and they can do it, is that one state, it would be a state situation. A state would make it a felony to be in possession of, what was it, Connecticut or someplace that did this with ARs? Okay. It makes it a felony to possess them after a certain date. All they need to do that is to have the political will to do it, the votes in their state legislature. Now I know I can hear you out there pounding on your keyboard. Yes, but nobody turned them in. Well, I'll tell you what, the state didn't push it, and I'm going to tell you what happens if the state pushes it. The reason that they make it a felony is some will turn them in, and some did. Okay, I think it was a very low percentage. Was it 5%, 15%, something like that? It had a 5 in it, I think. Not many people turned it in. Only the people who were immediately afraid turned them in. But the state didn't push it. If the state wanted to push it, what they would do is they would go arrest a couple of people. Let me use a friend of mine as an example, okay? A friend of mine has a gun room that would make your mouth water. They passed a law, and he's also very well set, very, very well off. Okay. So they passed a law that it's illegal to have whatever kinds of guns. Anything that carries more than 6. I don't know. You take your pick. Now he has a choice to make, and very possibly he would choose not to turn them in. Right? Like many of you. Like many go, oh, lost him in a boating accident. Hey, that doesn't fly. I know it sounds cute. The first person who came up with it, it was funny. But it's not going to work. Do you think the enforcement mechanisms don't understand this? There is a way to investigate this, believe it or not. They don't just take your word and go, oh, okay. How sad. You lost everything in a boating accident. So stop with that stuff. It's silliness, and it keeps you from really thinking about the real problem, the real threat here. So they look in the records and they see that my friend, he's got a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, he's got a bunch of special stuff, shall we say. And they drop past his house. They say, you haven't turned in all your guns. That means you're in possession of illegal firearms, which is now a felony for each gun you're in possession of. See, this is how law enforcement can work. I know, I was in law enforcement. Okay. Stupid, silly excuses do not work. They say, okay, tallying up everything you got, that's about 1,500 years in federal prison. What would you like to do? Would you like to go there, lose your job, your family loses the house, they lose everything? They have gone from wealthy to destitute. And you think they won't do it? Then you don't know some of the things they've done. And all they have to do is make a few examples. They raid a house. They run that guy in his perp walk. They blast it all over the TV. They say, this is what happens to people who didn't turn in their guns. And then you know who they appeal to? They appeal to the wives. I know a lot of people think that the government is stupid. The government is not stupid. Nor are most of the people who work in the government. Some are, but not most. They appeal to the wives, and they start running all sorts of PSAs, public service announcements. Radio, television, cable. They still have regular television? I don't know. YouTube, Facebook, all this, all over the place. Wives. Does your husband have illegal firearms in the house? He is jeopardizing your family's future. You have until such and such a time to turn these in, or we will take those guns. We will put him in prison. We will put you in prison for aiding and abetting. You will forfeit your house. You will forfeit all of your retirement. Do you know the things the government can take away from you? I don't think most people do. It's unbelievable. Your children, if they're under 18, are going to be turned over to Child Protective Services because both of their parents are in prison. If they're over 18, well, they're on their own, but they're not going to have the resources that your family built up. Both their parents, they're going to be out there in the world by themselves, trying to make it. And their life's going to be hell. Do you think the government wouldn't do that if they wanted to take the guns? They would. You need to understand that. The only reason they haven't taken the guns yet is because they haven't wanted to badly enough. They can start this in one state, and I guarantee you, within a few weeks, you're going to have wives calling a hotline. Mrs. Smith, Mrs. Jones, call this anonymous hotline. If you will call this, we will give you a special number that will give you immunity from prosecution while we come and take those horrible, deadly weapons out of your husband's possession. Save your family, Mrs. Jones. Don't let your kids be destitute on the streets. It's up to you. If your husband hasn't done the right thing, it's up to you to do the right thing. And they'll have all sorts of nice people out there. They'll have people like Morgan Freeman, people like him. They'll have nice looking housewife women. They'll have people in white doctor coats do it. They'll have pastors do it. They'll announce it in churches. And I'll guarantee you 90% of the wives out there, the women out there, will do it. Why? How could they not understand this? It's not that they're weak, it's that they understand. If they see the potential boot of the government coming down right on their family's neck, you think they won't do it? They will do it. Don't ever think that they wouldn't do it if they wanted to. They just haven't wanted to do it yet. And you get that going in one state, you get that going in Connecticut, you think California won't jump in? You think another state won't jump in, and another, and another, and another? And as that ball gets to rolling, it becomes the thing, because you've seen in the past how they use guilt to sell things, and how they use guilt to build fear, and fear to drive people to do things. That's how they will do it, if they want to do it. So I just wanted to say, because I don't think a lot of people out there really understand what the government can do and what they will do if they feel like it. I told you, I left because I was deep enough in the monster. I saw what they would do, didn't want to be a part of it. Well, that's what can happen. So I would suggest, on the preparedness side, understand this. But this is also why our fight has to be, and this is more on the political side, the American reversion side. This is why our fight has to be political. If we don't win the political fights, then the fights we have left are unwinnable. I don't care how many black t-shirts you've got with cool sayings on them. Okay? I know there's some out there going, ain't gonna get me. I'm gonna stand up. I'm gonna stand up on my front porch, and I'm gonna die a free man. Well, you're not gonna die a free man. You're gonna die in solitary confinement. That's not a threat against you. That's not me saying it. That's me saying I was warning you. You have to fight the right battles. You want to die in prison? I'm free. I didn't give up my guns, and I got my 6x8 cell here in my cellie. But I didn't give up my guns. My wife lost everything along with it. My kids are out there on the street, but I didn't give up my guns willingly. I can die with that on my, with a clear heart. No, you can't. So stop the silliness. This fight is political. There's too many people on the preparedness side that will not stand up and fight this politically. That's sad. Because they want us to believe that they'll stand up when the time comes. Well, the time is now. The time ain't coming. It's here. But they won't even go out there and be politically involved. But that's what you all on American Reversion are. For those of you watching on Integrative Preparedness, We talk about the political situation of our country on American Reversion. We have a lot of people who have come over. If you're not with us, the link is always down below. I had somebody ask me just today, how do I get to that other channel? And I forget that I don't announce that. The American Reversion channel link is right down below in the information box. And if you'd also like to join us on our Patreon channels, we have fantastic communities on both of the channels. Have Patreon channels also. We have fantastic communities over there. There's over 800 people in the Integrative Preparedness Patreon community. There's almost 200, or I think 160, something like that, in the on the American Reversion, because it's really not something that I've built, but I'm just now starting to build it. This is where the discussions are. This is where the ideas are. This is where the smart people are. This is where the real discussions are made. Not the ridiculous, drive-by statements out of my cold dead hands kind of BS. You have to be in the fight. That means you get up here and resist legally with the many ways we can in our country. Are you making your voice heard to anybody who matters? I don't mean your echo chamber. I don't mean your buddies, your family. I don't mean just leaving comments on YouTube channels, although that's good. But I mean, are you really standing up? Are you expressing your opinion? Are you standing against bad gun laws in public? Are you engaging your representatives? Oh no, Steve, if you think that being involved in politics is worth anything, you don't know anything. Yeah, I know a lot. And I know that nothing's getting done because so many people out there aren't doing anything. That's what I know. And I know that if most of the people who said that they weren't involved in politics because it's just all dirty and all that, if you were, we wouldn't have the problems we're having now, probably. But at least you'd be doing something. You'd be in the fight. You're not in the fight now. You're not helping the right side, which means you're hurting the right side. Okay? If you're not helping, you're hurting. What's that saying? Everybody loves the saying, right? Edmund Burke. All that is necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. Well, there's a whole lot of people out there who consider themselves good men and women doing a whole lot of nothing. I've always contended that in the presence of evil, if you do nothing, you can't call yourself good. Guys, that's how they can take the guns. And they can do it very easily. Very easily. They just haven't wanted to yet. Sadly, in most state houses, they have the margins to bring about those laws if they wanted to. The fight's now. Get involved. You can keep wearing your black t-shirt if you want to. But for crying out loud, back up the words on it. Huh? Stand up. Because if you don't, you just might hear that announcement one day on the radio. You've got until the end of the month to hand them in. If you don't, you're a felon. And no, nobody's going to believe the boating accident story. Okay? Think right. Think real. Think reality. Deal with things in the real world, not the fantasy world. And maybe if enough people will do that, we won't have to get to the point to where we see that happen. Okay, I'm going to get off here. I'll probably wait and just have this put up in the morning, even though I'm doing it in the evening. Think about that. Politics is important. The other side uses it very well. And if you're one of those that's not doing what you can, you're letting them do it. Think about it. Okay? All right. We prepare well in order to live well. We prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. Preparing well today means doing all the things we should and can do to ensure that our tomorrow is as secure and stable as it possibly can be. Take a good hard look at yourself. See if there's more that you can do. Because if there is more than you can do and you don't do it, the day may come when you're going to look back on this with a lot of regrets. Okay? Y'all have a good day. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.